Welcome back to another episode of Lounge 11 with Femi and Samco. We're here to talk about everything that's happened since our last episode. Plenty to uncover this week, but Samco, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm great. When you look at the week or the last few days, I don't think anything can make the week much better. So definitely good. How you doing?
Same. It's been from a football perspective, definitely very rewarding. It's been fun. I've loved the results that we've seen since the last time we were on here, but it's also been quite busy, actually. It's been a
Yeah,
very busy week, you know. We're just talking about the Champions League games just before we start recording. For me, those games are right in the middle of the day, so it's always tough to navigate during the week. But it's
yeah.
been fun.
Well, that's yeah. I
Yeah. So
can.
today, what is it?
I say yeah. I can relate for sure.
Yeah. This the sacrifices we have to make for the beautiful game, you know. But today, maybe we start with Ange, right? The first. I don't think he's the first actually. There's been a few that have lost their jobs since the start of the season. But his is really interesting because one, we've talked about it here before, and two, it's only been in the job for what is it, 8 or 9 games
Yeah,
before he
about
lost
30.
his job. Yeah. So that was really interesting. He lost his job just before the Chelsea game. Sorry, right after the Chelsea game. They lost, I think it was 3-0.
Yeah.
And the reports are that within 20 minutes of full time, he was let go. What were your thoughts on that experience or that situation?
Well deserved. I don't think any owner would have done any different. The problem with Ange is again one thing we always said about his ability to adapt was not any of his strongest strengths, especially when you come to the Premier League. He had these issues last year with Spurs and literally lost his job even after winning a trophy for the same reasons. Came into Nottingham Forest and you could tell he definitely didn't learn anything. His style of play remains the same.
Yeah,
And now you playing with a team considerably a little bit smaller than Spurs as the situation saw itself. He paid the ultimate price, like we always say. If you're not flexible in this league, you would pay the price. But it's a little bit crazy because when you think about it, it's like Nottingham Forest by game week 9, this would have been their third manager. That is ridiculous.
that's crazy, man.
A game of 9, they've used three different managers already. But
Yeah,
yeah, um, I don't think the Premier League is for Ange anymore. I thought he would have learnt his lesson because I felt Nottingham Forest had some interesting players, technical players that I felt could also bring back his reputation in the league. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out, and he definitely had to go. I think you also have to give Marinakis some credit as well because some people will say, "Just give it time, just give it time." But this is how he runs his business. And when a club like his has just made it into the European competitions, I
yeah.
think they are falling somewhere around 17th or 18th already in the league. So it's a decision he had to make. So I can't hold him against that.
I think what was interesting was a couple of days before that, he came out swinging. You know, you saw the rant. He said it always ends with a trophy. And he had mentioned that he had kind of talked about his Spurs days and how
Mm,
he felt offended that they said, you know, they were giving him the job because they had tried some serial winners, making a very strong defense for his case, right? And then the irony of it was that, what, 2 or 3 days after he lost his job, what do you say to people who kind of bring up his record? You hear what he has done, was it Celtics and all that? Like, when he says he's a serial winner, how do you put that in context of what we have now seen in the Premier League?
yeah, I mean, he can come out and say he's a serial winner, but the Premier League is definitely that's a different kettle of, you know. Like you come in here to the Premier League where, like I've always said, you have arguably some of, if not the best players in the world and the best managers in the world, right? So when you're coming here, and this is my other problem with Ange. I think he gets caught up in a moment because it looks like he's always looking for some catchphrase or something special to say for people to keep referring to when it comes to him. Last season, he came out and said he always win in his second season. Yes, you achieved that with Spurs. If you remember, after winning the European League, he came out and said something about season 3 is always much better and stuff like that. Maybe the main actor, and then what happens? You lose your job. In Forest, you're still doing the same thing. Like, oh, you're always winning your second. No, that's not how it works in the Premier League. Go look at the other teams that he's managed. When he was in Celtic, I was actually a big fan of his. And before he came to Spurs, I was one of those people who called out and said, I think Spurs should look into this guy. I think he's a very good manager and everything. But you've come out here and you've proven to everybody that you can be a good manager, but your ability to be flexible is a big problem. And again, that is exactly what got him to where he was. In terms of him, you can't come out and plead for time when you don't have any results to show for it. Even when he was hired by Forest, I kept saying, I can see it as a good hiring, but the question is, did you hire him because he won just one game in terms of the European League final, or did you hire him because of his results at Spurs? And it seemed to me like they hired him because of just that one game. If you're just going to turn a blind eye to what he did at Spurs, taking them all the way to 17th, then shame on you. And here we are. So if you remember, I called it, I said, after his second game, I think it was against Swansea in the cup, I watched that game and I said, it will be hard to see this guy finish with Forest at the end of the season. That game made no sense. 2-0 up, you're in the cup, and then boom, you lose 3-2 to the same thing you were accused of before, your high lines and ridiculous stuff. Then he played, I think it was Midtjylland or something I watched in the European League. And I think they scored 2 fast goals or 3 goals quickly. No, 2 goals were scored down to set pieces. And I think Forest scored 1. And then second half, he's trying to get another goal back. Again, crazy high line, boom. They score him again and the game is done. So you should be ready to put your money or your mouth where your money is. Money where your mouth is. So as he's found himself, like I said, I like Ange, but really, there's no defense. I have no defense for him. There's none. Yeah.
Well,
It's not.
let's turn our focus to the other team that played in that particular game, which was Chelsea. Chelsea looks like they needed a result as well, given the last few weeks that they've had. So they were obviously starting to get back up. But now they've put themselves back in the mix. Did you see that Nottingham Forest game?
Yes, I saw the Forest game. And surprisingly, Forest were actually the better team in the first half. They had chances, they just didn't put them away. And in the second half, what did Ange do? He reacted, sorry, not Ange, Maresca, he reacted to what he saw in the first half. He brought in 3, I think it was Caicedo, Gittins, and someone else. I can't remember the third person. And he brought in those subs immediately. And immediately he made those changes. The game literally just swung towards his direction. Again, your ability to be flexible and make changes and do something different when you see the game is going away from yourself. That is what Ange was able to do. So that was a game that was well deserved by Chelsea. Second half, they were by far the better team in comparison to Forest. Forest even had a few, I think 1 or 2 chances in the second half they did. But still didn't come out for them. So kudos to Chelsea for that game. Maresca's ability to adapt in games is something I've really, really noticed since the Club World Cup. And good for him, good for them. Did you
Good.
watch it?
No, it was I think that was the first game
Yeah, that was the first game. Yeah, it
weekend.
was
So it
the
was
very first
4:30 on
Liverpool.
this side. I was like, I'm not staying up for
Yeah,
no Chelsea and Forest game. I woke up to set my FPL team and then I just went back to sleep. I
yeah.
was like, yeah, I'll see the reason. Because I expected it to be a win, actually. And it ended up being quite straightforward.
But
Actually, what's funny is I think I said on here that it was going to be a win, and I initially predicted a win. And when I was setting my FPL team, I was like, based on the rant and the story, let me just go for a draw, like a 2-2 draw or something. So I
I
changed
saw
my
that.
prediction last minute.
Yeah, I saw that possibility as well. Like Forest
Yeah,
could
so
get
I
something. Yeah,
yeah, so I changed my prediction last minute, and obviously it was anything but a close game. Well, actually, it was a close game
it was. Yeah,
in terms of the chances that it got, right? So you look at the reports and everything and the highlights. They struck the bar, what is it, 2 or 3 times or something like that.
yeah.
So
But very close.
1 inch here, 1 inch there, it could have been a different story. But yeah, credit to Chelsea. Staying on Chelsea before we move on, Chelsea is now 5th. They're behind Liverpool, Bournemouth, City, and Arsenal, and now level on point with Spurs and Sunderland. You've said in the past that you are not falling for the pump fake, but they are now putting themselves in the mix for those Champions League places. Obviously, still very early, but if you're not falling for the pump fake for Chelsea in terms of maybe finishing higher up on the table, where do you think they finish right now?
They have a strong case in terms of top four, but again, season is very, very, very young. A lot of things still happen, especially after the next international break from November till March. More competitions come into the fold. At that time, I think between November and December, you're playing 3 competitions. Once January comes in, you're playing 4 competitions. So he's going to have to utilize his squad. But at the same time, they've been getting goals, especially without Palmer into the team. The likes of Esteval, they're stepping up, but I still think they're still. I still don't think their attack will be able to get them or keep them afloat in terms of challenging for most part of the season. The likes of Yao Pedro, Gittins, Ganacho, Estaval, Neto. So those guys are literally going to have to step up to the plate, especially with the absence of Palmer. So we see how they get through that. I wasn't able to watch their game against Ajax, but I heard it was a good game from them. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes for now. I mean, I think they have the fixtures to keep them around, but when I compare their fixtures to, let's say, the likes of the Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, I think those three guys have played a much more difficult games compared to that of Chelsea. So we'll see. I think they've played only one of the top 6 from last season.
They've played top 6.
Yeah, Liverpool.
They only play Liverpool. Yeah, they've
Liverpool
not
is the
played
only team
City.
from the top 6 last season that they've played. Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
right now they're getting 3 points, getting the results, which is very much important, especially if you don't have all your players around. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. How
Okay,
have you
let's
seen Chelsea?
Chelsea. I don't know, man. I think it's just one of those ones who we have to wait and see, right? Because nobody has. I didn't watch the Ajax game. I also didn't see the Forest
Yeah, I
game,
didn't see the
so
game.
I want to be objective in how I share my analysis. But I've obviously been following their results to know enough about how they're doing. I don't think anybody has really impressed me. I know Caicedo has been having a good season. You have to give him that. Um, I've been hearing some noise about Enzo. Looks like he's playing well enough. It looks like I can't really tell here or there. But beyond that, nobody has actually really like impressed me. Garnacho has not really done much. Gittins, I know he just got an assist. Was it a goal in the Champions League? So finally getting off the mark.
We did? Oh, I
Yeah, I
didn't
think
even.
it did. Yeah.
I guess that's for the Ajax game.
For the Ajax game. Yeah.
Okay.
Pedro started off strong with, a couple goals and assists here and there, but seems like we haven't seen much from him since then. So yeah, I think Chelsea are right where I would naturally expect them to be,
Like them
right?
to be.
Around the top 4, top 5 kind of thing. I think they'll actually even finish higher because I don't see when I look at the table right now, I don't know. I mean, Bournemouth are having one hell of a season, right? Who knows if they're able to keep that up, but I think things would taper off eventually there, as the season wears on and Chelsea probably come back into the fold. So that's kind of where you would have them. So no, I just think that as Chelsea fans, they probably want to ask themselves more questions as to, well, you spend all this money. I think we've talked about it here before. There should be serious conversations about winning the title, but here we are. I don't think there's anybody really expecting that from Chelsea. So um, but yeah, I think we'll move on to the big talking point from last weekend, right? Which I think will probably be our main discussion point this week, which was the Liverpool game at United. Liverpool game at Anfield against United, right? So they hosted United at Anfield, and most people expected them not to lose that game. I think the best everybody gave United was a draw, and ultimately United won the game. They took the lead first in the first few minutes, I believe. And then they held on for a little while. Liverpool equalized. And at that point, I'm sure a lot of people thought at Anfield they go on to win the game. But they actually ended up losing the game at home. We'll start with the performance on the day. Your thoughts on that? Because I think you predicted a draw. You didn't see the back-to-back win for United happening.
The performance, I wouldn't say Liverpool were that bad. I don't think their performance were that bad. To be honest, because I saw the game again, I think for me the difference in that game was Manchester United wanted it more. I think that was the summary I got in that game.
This is the
Doesn't mean
second time you're saying that about a Liverpool game. You
yeah,
said the same
even
about Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
same thing I noticed. Like Manchester United were very much up for the game. They struggled a little bit in the I'm talking about Man U now. They struggled a little bit in the midfield. But I think the players were just up for it in this particular game. I was surprised to not see Sesko starting that game. And like we spoke about it last week, what we were expecting and how Ruben had to put his team for him to be able to get a chance against Liverpool in this game. But I think he did the best that he could in terms of isolating Liverpool's fullback. I think they did that well. Gyokores was, man, he was on toast that game. What Ahmad and Mbuemo did to him throughout that game was boy. They gave him a real tough time. And I used to rate Bradley, their right back, but I don't know. Like, I'm beginning to question myself. Like, he's not looked good in any way. Like, in any way. I'm trying not to have any comparison with Trent when Trent was there, but I just don't think he works in that defense, especially next to Konate. So I would definitely give Manchester United the credit because to go away to Anfield, especially they've had a lot of ups and downs lately, but to go to Anfield and pick up 3 points, I think I was very much brave from them. So you have to give them their full credit. In terms of Liverpool, they are definitely still all over the place. Verts and Ekitike did come off the bench in that game. Again, still don't understand because of all your attackers, Ekitike has actually been the best one so far this season. So it made no sense whatsoever why he was on the bench on that game. Yeah, for me, I think Manchester United just wanted this game more again against this Liverpool team. I think Liverpool are still trying to find. I think there's a balance they're trying to look for. I think the manager is still struggling to figure out what his best team is, which is a little bit crazy because with the amount of money he spent, that's going to be a tough task because at the end of the day, you spent that money for a reason, which means all those players have to be on the pitch. So people will come out and say, no, they don't have to. Let's be honest, they have to. That's why you spent that money on them because you believe they are going to make a difference. You believe they improve this very team compared to what you had last season. So yes, that's where I find Liverpool right now in terms of that game. But it's interesting to see again. It tells you how difficult this league can be. 1 week, you have things going on for you. For their first 5 games, they were not playing or having the best games and they were pulling out winners within the last 10 minutes. And after that, their next 3 to 4 games, they were losing games literally almost the same way in the last 10 minutes. But you're also having teams who, in my opinion, have definitely been better than them. So each and every of those wins to the other teams that were definitely deserved.
Yeah, I think when we were here last week, I said I do see United winning.
Yeah.
And it's funny because those same reasons bubbled up again. I talked about Salah specifically being a liability defensively. Unfortunately, he was also a liability for them offensively, right? He
Yeah.
didn't give them much there. And when you and I think Doye and Kamsi, you had highlighted the midfield battle, which ultimately became important in this particular game. I talked about the wings, right? I talked about the
Yeah.
fullbacks. And that became really evident that there is vulnerabilities. I think those were the things I shared last week, that there are clear vulnerabilities in this Liverpool team. I mean, every team has vulnerabilities, but when the vulnerabilities are becoming consistently exploited, like we're seeing with Liverpool, then there's a bit of a problem. So it wasn't a big surprise to me. I think they've struggled defending set pieces, as their manager has rightfully called out. So they lost again off of another set piece. And I think they've also struggled with defending transition against teams that can put their wingers in uncomfortable positions, right? And you saw Obemo do that. I think you're still going to see more and more of that. Even in the Frankfurt game, which they won comfortably, but they went behind through very similar, they were cut through pretty easily. I think those things are still going to rear its head through the course of the season if they don't fix it. But what I wanted to highlight is the manager's comments. He has made some really interesting comments this season. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, there's a few things that came out of that game. One, he complained about the first goal, right? That they didn't stop the game. So that was it Bradley or no, sorry, McAllister could receive free.
McAllister, yeah.
Did you see the sequence of play?
Yes, yes.
Okay, what
I
did you
saw
make?
what that happened.
Should the referee have stopped the game?
Yes, I think the referee should have stopped the game. And the reason I say that is because we've known that to be protocol right now in terms of when there's a head injury, you literally stops the game. I think our game, who did we play this last weekend?
Fulham.
Fulham. I think something similar happened at the Fulham game from what I remember, and I remember the ref calling it off. But at the same time, it was crazy because if you look back at it, I can't remember if I don't think they did, but I can't remember any of the Liverpool players actually calling out or people screaming out for like, yo, we have a head injury or something. So based on the protocol, based on what we have been used to and how it happens across Europe or football in general, I would I would say yes. The game should have been stopped just for that head injury. Yeah.
I agree, but it's a tough one on the ref, right? Because if you look at
Yes.
the time between when the contact was made and when the ball went into the net, you're
Mm.
talking
It was quick,
less. Yeah, it was really quick,
very
right?
quick.
And so I agree with you, right? Because there is established precedents. If there is
Mhm.
contact to the head, you want to protect the health and safety of players, so
Yeah.
you stop the game. But I think some of the things that played against Liverpool in this particular incident was it actually initially looked like a foul on Mbemo,
Bueno, yeah.
right? And so it looked like in that split second, the referee saying, well, okay, ball's live, on.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
contact was actually from Van Dijk on his own player. So I think maybe the picture wasn't quite as clear to the ref in that instance. And that's what happened. And they played
Yeah.
on. But I just found it really interesting that that was something that Slot anchored on at the post game to talk about.
And there was something else he said in regards to that when he said
Okay.
players are not the type to complain or fake like
Yes.
hand
Yes.
injuries and
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And it's funny because in the second half,
Of
they
the
had
same
another
game.
similar accident in the same game.
Of the same game.
And his
Yeah.
players picked up the ball
And they
and
wanted to play
flicked
on.
the ball quickly and they wanted
Yeah.
to play. So yeah.
You know, I've been listening to a lot of Slot lately just to kind of, checking the temperature.
Mhm.
I want to give him benefit of the doubt that perhaps it's because of language barrier, like the translation from, Dutch to English or whatever. Because there's some things I'm like, bro, do you understand the context of what you have just shared? Like you're inviting more scrutiny, of your team when you make comments like this. Because you coming out to say, oh, our players don't behave like this, or you expect that. I think he said something about you'd expect that what is Liverpool, the players don't do that. I'm like, everybody's just going to go pull up clips of Liverpool players doing the same now in the past or even moving forward. Like, do you think he should be bringing on more scrutiny and pressure on his team with comments like that?
I mean, he's welcome to bring whatever pressure, but exactly that's exactly what it is. It's pressure. I don't see it as language barrier or anything because when it's everything is rosy when you win,
Right.
especially in the Premier League, right? It's one thing for you to lose one game. It's another thing for you to lose two games. But when you start losing three games on a bounce, especially in the Premier League, mind you, there's a Champions League loss in there, which makes it four in a row. It brings a different type of pressure because now you're being asked different type of questions than you're used to when you were winning. People will start picking up on different things, and everything you now say is going to be put under the scope and is going to be brought out in a very magnified manner. So we've spoken about this the last two episodes, I think, and this is definitely pressure. Simple. There's there's nothing else to it. It's just pressure, and if their results continue like this, it's going to keep going. There are so many managers who can bring it to this situation. And remember Pep last season when people started analyzing the marks on his face. We've seen Mikel gone through the same thing. We've seen Maresca gone through the same thing. We've seen Ange gone through the same thing. This is what happens when the Premier League pressure knocks on your door. And he's going to have to figure out because The more he says, the more people are going to put whatever he says under the scope, and it's definitely going to keep going like that. So this is definitely the pressure of the Premier League for sure.
It's funny you say that because he also talked about long balls and low blocks in that game. Sometimes when he makes this comment, it almost comes across as a second-hand compliment to the team. Like a team was just beating you at home,
Yeah,
right? You're coming off, what is it, 3 losses at a time,
yeah.
and you've now lost the fourth. And his comments were like, oh, they played a lot of long balls and you're facing a low block. He talked about him also being surprised that Sesko didn't start the game. What are you making of that as well?
Well, I guess he's in a situation now where he expects people to play in a manner that suits him to win. Again, welcome to the Premier League. Especially now you're the champion. Everyone wants you. Everyone wants your head on the plate. Everybody wants to have that tap on the back and say, we've been to the champions, either especially at Anfield or when you go away. So this is going to keep happening. As a champion, you're going to face more low blocks, right? Everybody knows how you play. Everybody know how you won the league. So I don't want to say it's unfortunate for you. It's expected. Now this is where you earn your money as a manager, as a champion of Liverpool and of the Premier League. This is where you earn your money. You're going to have to figure out whatever tactics, whatever mechanism, whatever strengths that you didn't know your team had. You're going to have to cultivate that and put that on the table because it's going to be a long season. If there's one thing I will highlight is 3 losses in a row does not stem. It's not good. Is not good moving forward. Doesn't put him in any good position moving forward. Yes, it's early in the season, but 3 losses in a row as a defending champion does not look good for you because there are other games that you're going to play that are going to be difficult, especially your rivals. You're going to have those slippery slope games against the lower teams where you don't know where your points might come from. Yeah. He's going to have to check himself with his comments.
We'll see about that, right? Because we'll get to Frankfurt where he made similar comments in a bit. But do you think they have a selection problem? Because you talked about Ekitike being their best striker. I actually agree. I think this season has been the most exciting player for Liverpool, at least from an attacking standpoint. And you had Gakpo, who was maybe the best player for Liverpool in the game that they lost against Manchester United. So it's hard to make the argument that for that game should have been dropped. Ekitike didn't start the game. I think Wirtz also didn't start the game. But then you still have this issue of, well, if this guy plays, what happens to the other guy? Do you think they have a selection problem now with all the abundance of players that they have?
I think it's more than a selection problem because let's start from the back. Your defenders are not leaking goals. Sorry, your defenders are leaking goals. So that in itself is a problem, right? You're trying to figure out, I guess, his best balanced midfield because your midfield are going to help you defensively, but most importantly, attack. They are going to help you attack offensively. His offense are not really putting those numbers like they did last season. They are unable to see games off. But even when they score goals, like we said, they are leaking goals at the back as well. Both their fullbacks haven't been the best. Unfortunately, Konate hasn't also been the best. So I don't think it's really a selection problem. It is part of it, but I really don't think selecting the right team or when he figures out that selection situation, that everything just gets rosy from there. Because his defense is a problem. Your attack is also a problem. You have the best right winger in the world, which is literally non-existent in your last few games. You have second best striker in the league in Isak, which is literally not having impact in games. You also brought in a world-class number 10, which in my opinion, Veg should be playing every game. I'm sorry, regardless of how people might say it, he should be playing every game because the more he plays, the more he figures out his teammates, the more he gets that chemistry with everybody. I remember, I think it was after game week 3 or game week 4. I think it was after they played Burnley. There was an interview that Salah said, and he said when he played with the likes of like Darwin Nunes, Jota, and all those guys, and Diaz, automatically he knew where these players were going to be. So now it's something a little bit different. So if you're going to, these are the guys that we know that you've brought in because you know they're going to improve your team. So again, those are one of the things. So I really don't think it's a selection issue. I think the entire team is having a problem based on it could be the system or players are not informed. But yeah, it's much more than just a selection issue.
Speaking of players that are not informed, Salah has had a very horrendous season by his own very high standards so far. I think he had the stinker in that last game against United and was subsequently dropped for the Frankfurt game. What do you think is contributing to this performance? Do you think it's the contract extension? Do you think it's maybe age starting to catch up, or what's going on there?
I think age may be part of it. I don't want to use a contract because I don't think a lot of us can come out and say Salah doesn't deserve that contract, right? I mean, sometimes it could play a part, but this was eventually going to happen to Salah, right? Especially after last season. Last season was his best ever. Like literally, if you go look at the numbers, I think they said between 65 to 70% of their goal contributions last season came from
Ridiculous.
Salah,
Ridiculous.
which is ridiculous. So everyone is going to literally compare you to what you did last season, right? So now having this, I want to call it a slippery slope because we know how magnificent of a player he is. But then again, you also have to know at the back of your mind that he is definitely getting older. He's not having the same pace, right? And again, players know who he is. But then again, you can now ask yourself, is the system also working in favor of this very best player as it did last season? So I think it's a combination of a lot of things when it comes to Salah. But the question I'll throw back at you is, if you were in slot situation, what do you do with Salah? Because a lot of people have been calling for him to be dropped.
It's a tough one, man. I actually really, really like Salah. I respect what he has done. So it's tough for me to say that he should be dropped. I do think that as a manager, what you try and do is maximize the output of your team. And if Salah is a guy that can still drop 25 goals for you in a season, and we've seen that this just happened last season. So we're not
Yeah.
talking about a distant past. I think you try to build around that, right? But I also think the problem is Slot is one of these modern managers now who prioritizes the balance and distribution of the team over the output of one player. So that's kind of what you're now seeing at odds with each other. In that position and in this system that Salah is playing, I talked about a defensive liability last week. He's now required not to be a Salah that just waits to get on the end of stuff, but to also contribute in terms of work rate, in terms of, the runs that he makes, stretching the pitch, allowing spaces for, the likes of Isak, Ekitike, or whoever is in the midfield to come into the box, right? And I don't think that's not the Salah that we've seen. So I'm not surprised that he's now getting dropped. I don't know that I would make the same decision as a manager. I think you try to build around your best player, and I think Salah is still the best player in that club.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Would you
find
drop him?
it's hard to. I don't think I would.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
I'm just one of those people like I always believe my best players always have to be on the pitch
Yeah,
because also we definitely know him as one of those moment players, right? I think if you see or if you remember how the system was made for Salah last season, and you could see how we benefited from that. If I am Slot, I would keep capitalizing on that. Like you might as well squeeze out every
every last
great
juice.
thing, yes, from Salah while he's still here. Especially now that you have much younger players of good quality as well around him. If there's one change I would try to do, in my opinion, would have been maybe I try to move Salah a little bit more centrally. So the defensive aspect of the right wing is taken away from him, but also he doesn't burn out so much because of having to go down that line. So I think I would have found a way he's brought centrally into their team and see how that goes. So yes, I don't think I'll be dropping Salah. I think he's very much one of the best players out there in the world. And again, this is what Slot is being paid for, right? This is what he's paid for, so he's going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, I think the mistake they made, obviously, and is everybody can say that now in hindsight, but I think I said that I was actually surprised that he got extended, and I think you'll know because on one of our groups I kept saying he's going to Saudi, and I think that was the best outcome for everybody because as long as you have the elephant in the room like Salah, you
Yeah.
have to play him. I think once you start getting to the point of needing to bench player like Salah, you are better off letting him go because
Let him go.
the consequences of
Yeah. Just
someone
let
like
him go.
Salah being on the bench, I don't think it's worth the outcome that you're trying to derive, right? So if you already feel like you can get the results that you need without Salah's frequent and direct involvement, then I think you maximize on that. You get the most you can. You let that guy go for 100 million or whatever it was that was being reported, and you build around the next generation of players that are supposed to take Liverpool forward. Unfortunately, they haven't done that. So this season is going to be a really interesting one to watch on how they handle that situation because Salah is still there. I don't think he can stomach several more games of being benched, right? We've seen that in the last two Champions League games now.
Which is strange that he was actually benched for.
That was the first time since he joined the club that he has been benched for two consecutive Champions League games.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's something to watch out for, right? Really interesting there. Really interesting to see how Slot manages that moving forward.
Yeah.
But actually, talking about the Champions League game, that was a bit of a bounce back game for
Did you
Liverpool.
watch
I
again?
think. No, I missed much of the first half. I was in meetings, and then I caught up on the last, was it 10 minutes or so? So I saw Ikitike's goal, and then I was. So the thing is, when I'm not at home, I'm watching from my phone, so
Yeah,
I
doing
can.
something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to do because if I leave the app, the app doesn't stay running. But I was in and out of the game, and I watched the highlights after. But the moment it was like 2-3-1, I was like, okay, this game's done. Let me concentrate on the work I have to do. But watching the highlights, I think, I saw that they did score some set piece goals, which is interesting, given what the manager has been talking about. Verts finally got off the, goal contribution thingy with 2 assists. So that was interesting. But I didn't take anything away from that game. I expected them to win the Frankfurt game. Maybe not as comfortably, but they did. I think the real test for them as to whether they've corrected a lot of their errors is coming this weekend against Brentford. So that's one that we'll have to watch and see.
Yeah, definitely. Brentford is going to be a test. I didn't watch, I didn't see the Frankfurt game. I was definitely working. Then I tried to sign in when it was second half and see what was going on. But when I saw it was 3-1, I was like, okay, there's nothing to see here.
There's
So I
no
literally
point.
moved on to the Real and Juventus game. So that was a game I
Yeah, that was
definitely
a good one.
finished. Even the highlights, I've not even seen the highlights to know how the goals went in. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll do that today.
Yeah, there were two corner kicks and Soboslai had a good goal.
Yes, I saw the two. Actually, I saw the three goals. I saw them while I was like scrolling on X. So I saw the first three goals: the Ekitike's counter,
Van Dijk,
Van Dijk, and who scored the first set
Konate.
piece? Konate. Yeah. So I saw those ones, but the goals in the second half, I haven't seen them. But while I was on X, I know I saw something. Even in one of our group chats, people were talking about when Salah came in. Apparently, there was a chance that he had where he could like square the ball up to like verts or something, and he didn't. I don't know if you saw that on the highlights.
No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. That would be interesting. I need to go check that out.
Yeah,
Something is brewing for sure because I
yeah,
don't think there's a way you. I mean, Isak's injury gives Slot a bit of an out now because I think Isak was injured in that game. Went off in the
yeah.
first 6 minutes, from what the reports are suggesting. It's a groin injury. Hopefully, recovers soon enough. In the meantime, or let's say everybody was fit. I don't know how you get Gakpo, Isak, Verts, Salah, and I'm missing somebody. Ekitike. Five
Mm-hmm.
of those guys into your starting three,
It's
right?
not possible.
Yeah,
It's not possible.
we'll
I'm of
see.
the opinion of Gakpo coming off the bench.
I mean, that's the pretty likely candidate.
Yeah. So to me, I think their front three should be Salah, Isak, and Ekitike for sure.
But
But the
here's the thing.
midfield is the other place he has problems too.
I think even that starting three creates a problem because
What
if
do you mean?
Ekitike, from what I've seen, is a natural forward playing guy. Like he's a
Yes,
striker,
he's
striker,
very direct. Yeah.
right? And so putting him in there. Remember last season when we were playing Real Madrid in the Champions League?
Yeah.
Or no, it hadn't been decided. It was Real Madrid and Atletico. And remember, I texted you saying I would rather play Atletico than play Real Madrid. No, I'd rather
Yeah.
play Real
Play Real
Madrid than
Madrid,
play Atletico.
Atletico. Yeah.
And it wasn't a disrespect to Real Madrid by any chance. I think we can all see that they have solid players. I think what I said to you in a group chat, which ended up being the case, was I would like to see how those three players defend, how they track back to help out their team, especially the two wide ones, Vinicius and Rodrigo at the time. I would
Yeah.
like to see how they help their fullbacks. And as you could see in that game, they, I think the stats suggested they ran the least amount of kilometers over two legs. And it made sense. They're just naturally not inclined to do so. They're they play on the front foot. And so I suspect the same thing will happen if you have Isak, Ekitike, and Salah as your front three. Very good offensive players are going to tear a lot of teams apart on their day. But when you come against the teams that would also create problems for you, you become a liability as well. So
But they
we'll
don't have
see.
they really don't have options in terms of that, right? Maybe Gakpo is the one that might be able to help them out,
That's what
especially
I'm
on the
saying.
defensive wall.
Yeah,
But they really don't have the options, and that's why I'm always of the opinion of my best players should be on the pitch, right? Is a way for you to figure it out, especially the
yeah.
likes of. To me, I think the likes of Isak, Salah would have to just be on top. That's why I said moving Salah a little bit centrally might be the best way for him to do. Are you going to go for a 4-4-2? I don't know if the 4-4-2 is the best, especially in the Premier League as a champion right now, but you have to figure out a way where you maximize your best players, especially when they're on the pitch, right? So, yeah.
Finally, before we move on from Liverpool, did you see the comments that Slot made at the end of the game? Someone had asked him, or one of the reporters asked him, what changed, right, between the last four games that they all lost and the one that they eventually won, which was Frankfurt. And he had mentioned that in the previous games, they had played teams in a low block that went long and they weren't able to press. And that was the difference that this team wanted to play out. So more Slot comments for us to kind of pick apart here. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that's another silly comment, but the good thing about it is that is Europe for you, especially with the new Champions League phase, right? Everybody is going to have to go on attack, score as much goals as you can, but also collect maximum points. So in the Champions League, he's going to have a lot more space to play, and that's why I said it was even surprising for me that Salah was actually being benched in the European games because I think he would have a much better showing in those type of games. But whatever is expecting in terms of the low blocks, I guarantee you in the Premier League, you're looking for teams that, or you're going to be facing teams that they are just fighting for survival. So how many big teams is he going to play that are just going to open up offensively against Liverpool, the champions? So on an average, he's going to face a mid block to low block on an average. So again, another comment that made no sense whatsoever. But I just put it down to pressure because he was just coming off a 4-game loss. Good win for him, but this weekend, everyone is back because everyone is going to be looking at you again like, what is it going to be? Remember Man City last season when they were just dropping points? If I remember, or I'm sure I'll pretty much be right, they lost a few games in Europe, but I'm sure a few wins that they got as well were in Europe during that period.
Well, I agree with you, but I thought it was incredibly naive, especially for a defending champion, like somebody at that level, to make such comments. I just thought they were very, very naive. And the reason I thought they were naive was, dude, you still have 30, what is it, 30 games left to play in the league, at least. We're not talking about the Champions League. We're not talking about the FA Cup that hasn't even started. So just the league alone, you have 30 more games and you're trying to defend the title. You have just come out to say, invariably, to the rest of the world that, you know what, we struggle when teams don't play the style of play that we would like for them to play, right? If you play a low block and go long, results suggest, and we agree that we struggle, right? If you kind of try to let us play our game, we're a little bit more comfortable. As an opposing manager, that's exactly what I want to hear. Like, okay, since you're uncomfortable, my job is not to make you comfortable as an opponent. My job is to make you as uncomfortable as possible.
It's possible.
And so if I'm Brentford or Aston Villa or wherever they play in the next few weeks, I think it's pretty clear that we're going to play a lot of long balls and not give you any chance to press. You've just made that very clear to us, and that's why I think it was naive for someone
Very.
in this position to make those comments. We'll see. We're really looking forward to that Brentford game. I don't really take much from the Frankfurt game. I think Frankfurt were they are or were, I can't remember now, the worst defensive team in Germany, it looks like, or at
Yeah,
least
they
where
considered a lot of goals this season, apparently.
right. So I take nothing away from that game actually. But let's end with just looking at some of the games. Arsenal. We start with the away win at Fulham. That's a place that we hadn't won in I think the last 2 seasons, actually. It's
Last
been a
two
bit
for
of
sure. Yes. I
yeah.
think we drew one, lost the other one, and won this season before.
And it wasn't really the prettiest of game coming back from the international break. I don't remember too much from there, but I know it was a set piece that decided the game again this time. So it was 1-0 to the Arsenal. Thoughts on the game?
It was one of those controlled game again. We literally controlled the game from beginning to end. I watched the game again and I think you remember me sending you a text and I said, damn, Arsenal do frustrate people. Like it's like literally we just open up a box for people to come in and they just close that box. There's no air, there's nothing. You just frustrate them. Like it was I couldn't imagine myself as a Fulham because there was no opportunity for them to come out. The 1 to 3 occasions where they were able to get the ball on our side and try to attack, you could just tell that there was nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Like it was literally nothing. So they were forced to play their own low block and everything. But if there's one thing I have just enjoyed about watching, and I don't know if you've noticed the same thing, is I see a sense of maturity in this team. We don't panic like we used to. Because I remember this very game last season. I think it was 1-1, and we're trying to get the win. And you could tell we're rushing. We're rushing. We're trying to put all the balls in the box and everything. We just literally wanted to get something. That was how we had the Saka goal that got chopped off based on Martinelli's offside. But this game, there was no panic. Everything was just done at our own pace and gloriously won the game with literally the best way I enjoy winning games right now. Set pieces. So there's not much I could add to that. Control performance, deserved win. I don't think anyone can come out and say we didn't deserve that one in any way. But you have to give credit to Fulham as well because their low block was very, very good. But I also think just coming back from the international break as well played a part to that game. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for me. I think the one thing I do like to listen to is how opposition managers and players talk about Arsenal. It kind of gives you a perspective being on the other side. And remember last season, what's his name? What was this Nigerian defender's name? Aino?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Baba Aino.
yeah.
Yeah. The podcast where they asked him about the most difficult opponent to play. And I actually expected they would say like a Liverpool or because that's just a high pressure. They said it was Arsenal because they just kind of put you in this. You're constantly covering spaces. You don't even know who's picking up who, and that's exactly what I saw over the weekend against Fulham. It's like if I was an opposition player, I would be so irritated because you can't even kick someone.
Nothing.
There's nothing to kick. Like you're trying to just get out and play, especially at home, and then you're being moved around and dragged all over the place, put in uncomfortable positions, right? As a player on the defending side, it was a as comfortable enough as a 1-0 away win could feel. I think that's the best we could say. I think the one thing to take away though is the sense of calm that even I feel now as a fan watching the game. Right. It just feels like we're not giving anything to the opposition. If you're gonna score, it's going to be some worldy, basically. Something that is difficult to mitigate against. The question I did have on that though is you see all the set piece I don't know if people are trolling or if people are like trying to make a joke out of it or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
like Arsenal has got another set piece again, right? Like, what do you make of set piece FC or Stoke FC and all those comments when you see that?
I think the first thing I'll say is to all Arsenal fans for them to embrace it. And the reason I
I
say
fully
that is
embrace it, by the way.
yeah, I tell them to embrace it because if there's one thing I guarantee you is that other clubs, other managers, they look at Arsenal and they say to themselves, I wish we had that. Because every time Arsenal have a set piece, the thing I like about that is I can sense there's panic in the opposition side because they have no idea what's going to happen, right? And I keep saying this, like, if people coming out to call it, you're killing football, you're this, you're that, if it's that easy, why aren't all of you doing it? If it's that easy, like people need to realize that these set pieces are being practiced on a daily high scale level because there's a reason. It's like today I was watching, there was one of the European games I was watching today and one of the sides had, I think 11 corners or 12 of 11 to 14 corners somewhere around there. I literally looked at that and I laughed and I said, because I looked at their score and I think they had just one goal or something. I'm like, hey, that's not 14 corners. I'm like, we're talking about 2 or 3 goals by now. But there's so much to our set pieces that meets the eye. Declan Rice needs to start getting his credit for his deliveries. Like, sorry, my bad. Beckham Rice needs to start collecting his credit for those set pieces because, again, like I say, if it's that easy, why aren't other people doing it? Right? So the delivery in itself is being practiced. If you remember, 2 seasons ago, after we came back from Dubai, when we were playing a game, and Declan Rice stepped up to take the corner, and everyone is like, you should be in the box. Why are you the one taking the corners? So when you have Declan Rice, Odegaard, Saka, even Eze, because I noticed in the English national team, he was taking their set pieces, and I was like, I can definitely see some some Arsenal in you already in your delivery. So these things are being practiced. Then when you look at the variety of our set pieces, we can go long, we can go short, and we can literally just drop it in the middle of the box to just create chaos. We also have the short ones as well. So this tells you that a lot of work is being put into it. If you're going to cry about it, I really can't help you in that situation. I enjoy it. I've never been against it from when it started happening. And I've even heard some people come out to say it's not sustainable. I'm sorry to tell you that it's sustainable because Arsenal is going on its 3rd year doing this same thing. There are times you're going to think you've figured it out, but it changes because whenever we have a set piece, you have no idea which one we're going to do. You don't know if we're taking it long, if we're taking it short, if we're going wide. Like you have no idea. Again, it's all down to the practice. If you're scoring 3 set pieces is in 2 goals, if it's that easy, why aren't other teams doing it? So I really don't have anything else to tell them. Like I said, Arsenal fans embrace it. To the people that don't like it, hopefully we get some against you when we play you. But this is here to stay. I'm sorry. Like it's here to stay. So it's a weapon. It's like you come out and say Barcelona have Yamal, Man City have Haaland. These are weapons. I have set pieces. I'm sorry. Like, look at that Fulham game, for example. Their low block was very, very good. Like, it was difficult to move them out of position. But we used something that we had. Look at Liverpool. Their manager complained about set pieces, right? Their game against Frankfurt, that game was decided with set pieces. Their home game against Atletico Madrid, it was decided with set pieces. When they went away to Burnley, it was decided with a set piece as a penalty. Their game against Arsenal was decided by a set piece. It's part of the game. It's as easy as that. It's part of the game. You might not like it, but it's you not liking it. I don't think it's because you really don't like it. It's because your team isn't the one doing it or your team isn't the one as perfect as it.
Man, I love it, man. I want more of it. I want more set pieces because what it means to me is that one, you're playing as far away from your box as possible, which means you are if you have that many in the game and that many opportunities to score, it means that you are actually being a lot on the offensive, which is good. You reduce the likelihood of you conceding on the other side. The other thing I have to give Mikel Arteta credit for is that he had mentioned, I think it was a season or two ago, that he wanted his team to be good at every aspect of the game. And I think it is clear that he has focused on maximizing every single thing that you can get. Like as much corner kicks, we want to go long, we want to go short, we want to play out from the back, we want to go long to Kai Havertz or now Gyokores. Like this is a team that can do everything, right? So you have to give him credit because I think I'm not going to say that he is the one that started the set piece movement or whatever, but for a big team, it definitely put the focus on set piece coaches and all of that kind of stuff. And now you see every team has a set piece coach. So, we're now talking more and more about like what teams are doing in set pieces, right? Start of the season, we got trolled because apparently big teams should not be doing long throw-ins. And now every game I watch,
Everyone you watch, you
everyone
say
is
it.
doing a long throw. Definitely credit to him, for changing the way we approach the game. And definitely I embrace it without a doubt, which obviously takes me to the Atletico game where set pieces played a role again. Did you see the 4-0 to start with? Did you see that coming against Atletico? Yeah.
Definitely not. Definitely not, because it goes back to, like you said, last season when we had the option of Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, and we said Atletico Madrid wasn't one of those teams we wanted to play. Atletico Madrid have become a little bit more offensive than they used to be under Diego Simeone. So I knew we had a chance in this game, but especially in the second half of that game, the way you can look at Diego Simeone on the line, and you could tell he was blown away
It was out of
because it was
options.
like, yeah, it's like the game was in front of him at one point in time, and then he had no idea where the game went or how the game changed, because literally he conceded 4 goals within 13 to 18 minutes. I don't think he's ever done that in his career at Atletico Madrid. Like, it was a superb performance from the boys. Like, I literally watched the game again today just before we hopped on this call. It was a superb performance beginning to end. Like, everybody balled out. Gabriel, Lewis Kelly. There's a reason I bought that guy's shirt last season, because people forget that kid is 18. Like, people still forget that kid is 18. This guy is actually a central midfielder. And look at how he's not fussed about the occasion. He just plays his game. Zubimendi and Martinelli were unplayable in that, especially Zubimendi. There's just something about that guy that is like, he's just like a conductor. Like, he literally gets the ball and he's literally just moving the ball. If you go look at the pass he made to Martinelli for the Gyokores' first goal, how? Like, he sees everything. Like, literally, he sees everything. He got the ball, he passed it to someone, they gave him the ball back. I tried to see if he looked up to see Martinelli making the run, but it's like he already knew that run was going to happen. And he literally just dinked the ball over. He's such a special player. And I remember I said, this guy is going to change the way we play. People came out asking, is he better than Partey? Is he an improvement of Partey? And I said, I really am not even looking at it in that way. I'm not looking at it as who is the better player. One thing I know about Zubimendi from watching him for at least 1 year is he's definitely going to change the way Arsenal play. He's going to make the ball a little bit move the ball a little bit more faster, but he's also going to make us play more direct. It was, there's nothing I had in terms of that performance against Atletico Madrid. That is 3 games in the Champions League. And we have 9 goals, and we've conceded absolutely nothing.
That is a
What
crazy
more can
record, by the way.
what,
I don't know
what
if you've
more can
seen. Did you see the Arteta record? Is it
Yeah,
28 games or something like that at
yeah.
home in
At
the
home,
Champions League? Hasn't lost any and hasn't conceded
yeah, I think
or
that's in the
something
group
crazy.
stage.
In the group stage, yeah, in the group
The
stage.
group stage, yeah. He hasn't
That is
considered,
that is
yeah,
crazy.
because This is his third season in the Champions
in
League, right?
Champions League.
Yeah, third season in the Champions League. It was man, it was such an absolute beautiful performance from the boys. Like everyone was, and again, it was one of those games that we controlled. Like,
From beginning to
yeah,
end.
yeah, we literally controlled that game again. So it was funny because when I saw Atletico's lineup, I saw he didn't bring. I was a little bit surprised about Griezmann not starting the game, and he decided to go with Solot and Alvarez. But yeah, it was a cruise, and I have to give him, but most importantly, the boys credit yesterday because, like I said, at the point that game was just there, and they turned it up, and the game just. And guess what opens the game up again? Set piece. So
I'm with it, man. We have to acknowledge Gyokores from that game, right? Because he had come under a bit of pressure. I think that was 9 games going without a goal, and he had 2 goals. I think he even got the man of the match in that game. I thought that
oh, really?
was,
I didn't even know.
yeah, I thought that was one of his best games that he had played for Arsenal. And
Really?
even before the goal came in, because you know my stance on Gyökeres, right? I think there's still
Yeah.
plenty to be desired there. But what I did see in that game was a lot of tracking down, a lot of, trying to close the goalkeeper. It looked like it was running with purpose, like it was chasing after everything, got in there. And the goals were really scrappy goals at the end of the day. But I think it was deserved for him to get at the end of that, given the performance that he put in. I thought, he put in quite a shift. I was happy for him. But your thoughts on Gyökeres yesterday?
How do I put it? I had seen that performance before from Gyökeres and Arsenal shared a couple of times. I saw it against Newcastle.
35 minutes for like 35 minutes against Newcastle.
No. I saw it the whole game against Newcastle. I saw it against who was the other people who played in Europe? Olympiacos, I think. Actually, the European
Athletic.
games, Athletic and Olympiacos, I saw it against those two teams. I saw it against Forest as well. Because if you remember, I think I'm trying to remember the very first game I said I noticed he was now adjusting because we were playing a little bit more direct and all to him. And you could see in this game and I don't know if you noticed, Martinelli and Saka were hardly doubled up in this game. Like hardly. That's because he's right there occupying those defenders. But he was being direct, he was pressing, and he's a handful. So to me, I think the goals were more of like a congratulations, like a job well done. That was how I saw it in terms of the goals. But those performances, I have seen that already this season, right? So I wasn't really surprised, but I was really happy that he definitely got those goals. And like I've said, like he's just one of those players I'm not worried about because I know he's adapting. We're adapting to him. And I think when he gets a little bit more comfortable, people are not going to like this guy.
So the reason I disagree slightly is I I agree to the point of we're seeing glimpses of it. Like Newcastle, I thought he started the game, you know, came out of the blocks firing on all cylinders and stuff, right? But I think because the goals had not come for him yet, you could see that it was weighing down a little bit. I think we talked about this on one of the episodes. It might have been after Olympiacos or Athletic. I can't remember. I talked about in that game that, man, I start to see that this thing is getting to this guy
Yeah.
because there were moments where you could just lay it off for Martinelli or something and you're really forcing the issue. Yesterday, I didn't see him force the issue, and that was the difference. The running was always there, the occupying defenders was always there. But this time, for the first time, to me, it looked like it was truly playing for the team and letting the game come to him. And luckily for him, the game did come to him. The goals did come. They literally landed on his lap.
You're literally
like it was,
into him. Yeah.
so I think if he continues to do that, then he'll probably win a lot more people over with his performances and the end result. But I think that's what I want to see more from him. Just kind of getting stuck in. It's kind of hard to tell a striker not to worry about the goals because that's what they live off of. But
That's what it's there for, yeah.
just
It's like,
in this
yeah,
team,
like
just be there. It's coming to you.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That is why I don't have worries for him because of the team that he plays for.
Yeah.
Because I look at it like when you start having your likes of your Azes, your Odegaards, your Saka around him, those opportunities are definitely going to come to him, right? And one of the reasons I really did want Gyökeres when we were looking for a striker mind you, I'm sure you know I'm a big fan of Sesko, but the reason I wanted Gyokores was because he has a liking to Diego Costa for me, who is just going to be in maintenance. All they want to do is score goals,
Remember, I
right?
texted you this thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
and
when I watched him at Sporting Lisbon, that was the only thing I saw. Diego Costa, he's like at Sporting Lisbon, there were not a lot of times where he received the ball with his back to goal. In the Premier League, he's going to have to do that at least 3-4 times every match, like every single game, right? So those are one of the things he needs to adapt, especially with this team. Mind you, we're also not a team that used to play direct. Now we're going to be forced to play direct and stuff like that. But in terms of him knowing where the goal is, I have no doubt whatsoever in this guy. Some people will come out and say, oh, he's 27, you can't teach him new tricks or anything. That's fine. But I don't know why I just have that much of a confidence with him. I think he's mentally strong as well in terms of his own personality or the kind of person he is. I don't know if you saw his interview with Henri Richards and all after the
so
game.
I thought
It
I
was
love that
actually,
for him.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was actually a very good interview. There was a
yeah.
point where they asked him if he was surprised about the results and all with the game. He literally didn't even wait to answer, and he said no. It was like he's just that type of guy. He doesn't speak much, but I guarantee you a lot of defenders don't like playing against him. And once he's settled, like I said, a lot of people a lot of people would not like him. So I just hope it comes sooner than later.
We'll take one more minute before we turn our attention to the weekend. But one other guy that has caught my own attention is Eze, and looks like he's catching a lot of people's attention. I
Mm-hmm.
look through our chats and I see people talk about Eze as if, he's having a verse kind of season. And then I look at his numbers and I see, well, in 12 appearances, he's given 3 assists and 1 goal across all competitions. So I know that I've texted you that I'm watching Eze, not because of the output, but just things that I see, when we're out of possession. Is not as aggressive of a presser or a tackler like you would expect Odegaard or Merino, who have played in that position. Hear other people, like rival fans, talk about Eze. I'm almost confused as to the fact that has he not contributed so far this season? What do you make of Eze's performances so far this season?
I wouldn't come out and say he's lit up his himself since he came, but again, this is one of those places where you need to know the kind of player he is. That is not easy. If anything, I'll say is a weakness of this, like you said, is like the high press, especially when you compare him to what we had there in Odegaard. Odegaard was the one that led the press. He's not that kind of player. I'm hoping with time he's going to get into that. But Eze is the guy that wants the ball at his feet. He wants to move with the ball close to his feet. And again, pay attention to him when he has the ball and how he moves the ball, how he tries to be direct and how he tries to create space for other people as well. Again, go watch him at Crystal Palace and see him here. There's no difference. There is literally no difference. So I'm hoping, not I'm hoping, I'm expecting his performances to go. But you also need to realize that we found ourselves in this crazy part of football where it's all about assists and goals, right? It's all about everybody it's all about assists and goals and stuff like that. Yes. And this is why I keep saying like banter comes to bite everyone in the backside. It's all about assists and goals. When I watched the Atletico game at first, I remember saying I didn't think Eze had a good game. But when I watched it again, he actually didn't have a bad game. The pressing was the only problem I had with him. He received the ball a lot of the times in tight places and he hardly lost the ball. And a lot of those times when he's taking those ball in tight places, you're having 2, 3 players around him, which creates much space for other people. But at least he's not even losing the ball in those situations and everything. So I can't complain about this player because I know how we were last season. At one point, Odegaard was injured. When he was back, he wasn't performing. I'm not hearing people coming out to say, where's Odegaard? Where's Odegaard? Because we still have the likes of Eze. I need Odegaard back in this team. I need Odegaard back in this team. And that's why sometimes I tell players, I'm like, when you don't have some guys in the team, you see what they actually bring to the team, but you can't see it until they leave, right? I've been fortunate to watch Odegaard in person. And that was the time I said, this guy is a horse. The way he plays, he literally runs around that pitch and stuff like that. I just always ask myself, like, why do we always want to put players up against each other, especially within the same team? They all have the same goals. They're all playing for the same team. They're all representing the badge for our club. So I'd rather have all these boys fit, ready, and the ability to go. You can see what the competition in the squad has done. Calafiori went on the bench yesterday. Skelly came out, no difference. Timber went off. White came in, no difference. Mosquera came in, no difference. We have very good option. I just hope Mikel is able to put the boys down, head down. Everyone just focus on what they're trying to achieve this season. So, yeah.
All right, we'll turn our attention to the weekend and look at some key games. Brentford is playing Liverpool. They're hosting Liverpool at the E10. That is the one to watch, at least in my mind. Thoughts on that game? What do you expect?
It's going to be a tough game for Liverpool. Their striker, what's his name? Is it Thiago or Iago, whatever his name is?
Igor Thiago.
Igor, yeah. He's having a good season so far. And he's very physical as well. So what's the other guy's name? Shade, playing very well. Henderson has been playing very, very well this season. I'm shocked in the games even when I watched them against West Ham, I was like, wow, Henderson is still playing at a very, very good level in the Premier League. And I think the game is at Brentford, right? Or is it
Yep,
Anfield?
the G-Tech.
Brentford. Yeah, it's definitely good. It's good. It's going to be a tough game. I can guarantee Liverpool now this one. Do I see Liverpool winning this game? Fortunately.
Ooh,
Fortunately, no.
that's a big call.
Because you're going to play this low block again, right?
Which their
You're going to
manager
play this
said.
low block. Brentford have been very destructive with their long throws this season. And they have this never give up attitude as well. They play to the very, very last minute. When Thomas Frank left, a lot of us predicted they were one of those teams likely to go down. And that has not been the case. I've seen 3, maybe 4 of their games so far this season. So I think it's going to be another struggle for Liverpool again.
Okay.
Maybe a draw, but if they lose, I won't be shocked at all.
Let's move on. Arsenal is playing Crystal Palace at home.
I'm so happy they've been losing and they haven't gotten maximum points lately, because when they were going on that unbeaten streak, I told myself, I said, I need Crystal Palace to drop a few points before they come to the Emirates. It's one of the guys who gave us problems last season. I think we drew this game 2-2. I think we were even winning 2-0. And I think we drew the game 2-2. So this is one of those results, again, we also have to turn around in comparison to last season. I watched their Conference League game today. They unfortunately lost 1-0 at home.
They lost.
Yeah, they lost. They missed some good chances. But at least we played on Tuesday, they played on Thursday, so I hope we get a little bit of an advantage with that, and then they're coming to the Emirates. So I think it's going to be a very cagey game, because I think, especially with their back three, Glasner is definitely going to have them set up pretty much well. So, but I'll still go with an Arsenal win. I think with their ability to control games has been very much impressive. And I think it's going to be a very tight score, like a 2-1, 1-0, something like that.
All right. Let's move on to Villa Man City. Villa is hosting Man City.
Villa lost today as well.
I didn't check any of the Europa
they lost
games.
today as well against another small team away, though. I think Man City, because of Haaland, edged this one. Man City have been playing. I think it's funny. I've noticed since the Emirates game. I don't know if you have. Depends on how many games you've watched. I've noticed Pep focus a little bit more on the defensive side of their team.
They're more structured. They're more rigid.
More structured. Their wingers are more. They go back to help the defense.
Yeah.
They play more direct than they ever used to. So I think their good form continues. So I think I'll give this one to Man City.
I think Man City win this one as well, just because Villa are not as reliable. They've had a very up and down kind of season so far.
They won their last 5 or 6 games.
Last
up until
5.
Today. Yeah, up until today.
That sounds very interesting to me.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah, because remember they were losing their first few games.
Interesting. I gotta look into that.
4 or 5 games. Their last 4 or 5 games, they won it up until today. And it's funny because, they scored first today. But somehow, and they missed a penalty as well. But I'll go with City on that one.
All right, let's end with United and Brighton.
Whew.
Manchester United hosting Brighton. United have gotten their first back-to-back win since
Yeah,
101.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, to United.
So this is an opportunity for them to go 3 on the bounce at home against Brighton.
I don't see it. Brighton has been a boogie team for United, if I remember correctly, especially at Old Trafford. Welbeck, the way they play. United, Brighton.
I think Brighton wins this one.
I wanted to say draw, but I think Brighton wins this one.
Yeah, I think Brighton wins this one. Brighton are a really interesting team, right? Like they can cause problems for you if you're not coming
and
correct.
They're an entertaining team. Like when you watch them
they're
play,
fun team to watch.
Yes, they're fun team to watch. So unfortunately, I'll go for Brighton.
Yeah. Okay. Chelsea plays Sunderland. Yeah. I guess we could talk about that. But I think they'll win that. They're home. They're at Stamford Bridge. I think they'll win against Sunderland.
Okay.
Let me do the what's that thing that Charles Barkley does? I guarantee. I guarantee.
Because Sunderland, their defense is pretty good. Their midfield is pretty good.
Yeah,
their
but it's Chelsea.
What I know
play Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge.
Chelsea have lost a few games at Stamford Bridge this season, no?
Who did they lose to? United, 1 man down.
No. They lost to someone at Stamford Bridge this season.
I watched that game actually. I know the other game, but it's not like a lot of games. It's not a lot of games that they lost. I'm looking it up right now.
Who did they play at Stamford Bridge and lost?
They lost to Brighton 3-1.
Brighton, thank you.
It's Brighton, bro.
Yeah, Brighton. I'll go for a draw for this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I'll go for
I think it beats Sunderland, but I'll submit my predictions on tomorrow. Actually, I
think next week is
there's the Carabao as well. Yeah.
I don't even know who we play. I've forgotten
already. We play Brighton. We play Brighton, man.
Come to the carpet. Come to the carpet. Yeah, that would be a fun game, though. Brighton, wow. I totally forgot.
Yeah. That one is a tricky game. I don't know what to expect because I think there'll be changes for sure.
About that game. Nothing tricky about it. They are coming to the carpet, man. But it will be an interesting game, though.
But yeah, I fully expect us to move on to the next round. You know, we take it game by game here, but yeah, I think we're going to do some really cool things in the car. All right, man. I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. I think we touched on everything we wanted to discuss. Yeah. Is there anything else we missed? I don't think so.
No.
All right, man.
I think we'll touch it till next week.
I'm sure we'll definitely chat on Sunday on our banter call.
Yeah, definitely Sunday.
And then we'll be back same time next week to catch up.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll talk next week. Yeah.
All right, take it easy. Yeah.